you want a bad story or a good story?
Hey, whichever one you want to tell. Maybe both if we got time.
Uh, all right. Let's talk about me coming back from AIT to Oklahoma, which is the worst experience I've ever had in the military. Okay, so they put us on a bus. They drive us to an airport, I believe 5 miles away from Carolina. I get there. Um, the flight is delayed. I'm like, cool, whatever. There's like a USO in there's a USO in Fort Jack or in the Columbus airport, right? And there's also like a store that sells cigarettes. So I immediately get a pack of cigarettes. I immediately go outside, chain smoke an entire pack of cigarettes while I'm waiting for my flight, right? And I was just like, these cigarettes kind of suck, because like after, I don't know if you guys have ever smoked cigarettes before, but like if you go on a break for a while, it's just like it's nice for the first cigarette, and then after this like the second cigarette, you're like, ugh, you know. But I have a really bad nicotine addiction. See, so I was just like, whatever, I don't care, I don't care. So I'm sitting there. I finished the whole pack of cigarettes. I go back up to the plane. I sit on the plane. First, they tell me that my carry-on bag is too large. My carry-on bag was a medium ruck, which whatever, which meant that I had to pay to check that bag because they would only cover two check bags, right? That's why I was using my ruck as a carry-on because
Mm-mm.
I bought a huge suitcase which could fit uh, two duffels in it. You had three duffels worth of equipment.
Mm-mm.
I think I'm trying to remember. It's been 2 years.
Yeah.
So I put the two duffels in there, and then I put my other duffel as my check bags, and then they were like, you can't take that bag on with you, and I'm like, that's annoying. My laptop and everything's in here. So I give it back to them. They check the bag. I pay whatever the charge fee is. It's like I don't know. It's too much for it. It's not enough for me to complain, but it's too much for me to be happy about this situation. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Absolutely.
So I get back on the plane. I'm sitting there. I like look at my phone. I look at my watch, and I realize that we've been sitting there for like an hour without any movement. And I was like, "Cool, whatever, I guess." Another 45 minutes pass before we hear over the thing, "This flight's delayed." And so I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I go out. They're like, "We'll get you on a flight to." By the way, just to be clear here as to what was happening, they were flying us from South Carolina to North Carolina to an airport there, which would then fly us to Tulsa. Not for nothing, we could have driven from South Carolina to North Carolina in the time it took them to delay that flight.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there. They finally are like, "All right, we got a flight to North Carolina." So we get there. We get to North Carolina at like 7 or 8 o'clock, right? To be clear here, we left Fort Jackson at I believe noon or 11 o'clock, something like that. So I'd been in the airport for about 8 hours at this point, 8 or 9 hours. Uh, and then we get to North Carolina. We get there. I asked them I asked them if they could help me out, right? They're like, you got to call someone. Your flight went off like 3 hours ago. You got to call someone. And I was like, okay. And so I called their helpline. The helpline is like, you got to talk to someone there. And I was like, all right. So I go back to the help desk and I was like, hey, so the person that you told me to call, they told me to talk to you. And so I'm sitting, so they're like, all right. So here's what we could do. We could put you in Oklahoma City right now. And I was like, okay, when's that flight go off? And they're like 10 o'clock. And I was like, cool. That's like 3 hours from now. So I guess I'm hanging out in another airport for another 3 hours. I sit around. I hang out. I think I'm 20 at this point, so I'm not old enough to buy alcohol. I definitely did not like hang out at the bar and just wait for somebody to buy me a drink because I was like, I'm in the military. That definitely didn't happen. To be clear here, that definitely didn't happen. I definitely wasn't like a little too drunk when I got onto the OKC flight home. So I'm sitting there. That flight is like, by the way, at this point, because I'm in Oklahoma, I'm flying to Oklahoma City. I've like my family is all in Tulsa, right? So like they
Hmm.
can't make that drive at 10 o'clock or whatever. Whenever we're or like I think we're supposed to land in OKC at like 11:30, something like that, right?
Hmm.
So I'm calling my buddy Jacob Meller who lives in Norman, right? Because he goes to OU,
Hmm.
and that's like I don't know, like a 30-minute drive
Yeah.
to Will Rogers, you know.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
So is it Will Rogers or
Yeah, that's Will
yeah?
Rogers.
I just want to be
Will
sure.
Rogers.
Yeah, so he's like, okay, sure, I can get you at like midnight. You said the flight's coming in at midnight. Of course, the flight in North Carolina also delays, so I don't get home I don't get home to Oklahoma City until maybe 2 in the morning. My my buddy picks me up at 2 in the morning, and Will Rogers. I don't know if I've ever told you guys this before. I hate Oklahoma City. I hate everything about it. It's an awful city, garbage city. Maybe that's because I grew up in Tulsa my whole life. Garbage city. So me landing down in my home state, and it's in the one city in all of Oklahoma. I'm like, I can't stand the city. Already blood boiling. My buddy is like, we're going to Norman. We get to Norman. It's loud because I think there was some football game, and like I'm tired and angry at the world, right? And like I'm like in that like but I'm like in that state where like you've you haven't drank in a while, but like you definitely are like still a little tipsy, and you're just like, you know that angry drunk that you get. You know what I'm talking about? Like
Yes.
when like you're like, why is everyone else partying? Partying's over. That's where I was at, and so I'm like walking back. I get to my friend's dorm at like 3:30 in the morning. I pass out literally on a hardwood floor. I wake up at like 8 in the morning to like some RA screaming through the door. I call my mom and I'm like, hey mom, can you come pick me up? I'm in Oklahoma City. And she's like, wait, you got home? What? I was supposed to pick you up in Tulsa tomorrow. I was like, yeah, I know. Can you just pick me up? And so she drives me home, and then I take a nap, and it's a lot better now.
I can see that.